Once again, wishing all of you a very good morning. Thank you for your responses. I can see that there's no issue on my end. The connection is clear, so we can start today's work. So far, we have 79 participants. We will start the lecture anyway. So we all have met with our MIS lecture series as well. So you are not unfamiliar to me and I'm not unfamiliar to you either. So let's build up that rapport to continue with this lecture series, right? So the subject, as you all already know, is digital business. So first of all, before we start off, let me discuss a little bit about our course outline. අපි digital business lecture series එක අදින් පටන් ගන්න යන්නේ. අපි lecture එක පටන් ගන්න කලින් course outline එක පොඩ්ඩක් මම share කරන්නම් ඕගොල්ලොත් එක්ක. So as you all already know, the course outline and the lecture materials have already been shared on the LMS. You all can refer to it. You all can download it. So can you all see my screen? මගේ screen එක පේනවද හැමෝටම?
Yes, madam.
Right. Okay, good. So ITC 3347 digital business course module is what we are commencing today. So this course is taken by 4 departments of the management faculty. The Business Information Systems Special Degree Program takes this subject, as well as the Bachelor of Commerce, and also Operations Technology Management, Decision Science students are here, as well as the Department of Entrepreneurship, BSc in Entrepreneurship Special Degree also takes this course. So I hope all the 4 departments are here joining with us today. So as you all know, this is a compulsory course, a 3-credit course with 150 notional hours, right? Consisting of 45 lecture hours. Now, this is very important. I remember telling this to you at the beginning of the MIS courses as well. 150 notional hours have been allocated to this lecture. However, only 45 lecture hours are allocated where we interact in our regular classroom lectures, where 105 hours are allocated for self-learning. So that means there's a lot of work for you to do. We cannot 100% deliver the entire content of digital business to you. That is quite impractical, right? So you all have a lot of homework to do. You all have a lot of referring to do on yourself as well, because this subject is something which is continuously evolving, right? What we teach you today might change by tomorrow. That is the pace at which the landscape, the digital landscape is changing at the moment, right? So you have to be up to date and you have to refer. There are a lot of sources of knowledge which you can refer in order to keep yourself up to date with regards to the content that we discuss in the classroom, right? So the lectures are scheduled twice a week on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as well as on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. The Zoom link is already made available to you on the LMS. You can join using that link. So the subject coordinator for this particular subject is Dr. Dushanta Kulatunga, who will be joining with you in the times to come, right? His contact details have been mentioned here in the course outline, so you can reach out to him for any concerns you have pertaining to the subject. So the lecture panel for this subject consists of Dr. Dushanta Kulatunga, Ms. Pirunidhyalage, who also joined with you for the MIS lecture series, and myself, Sandhani Senaratna. You all can reach out to us as well for any concerns you have. Details are given here. So in order to proceed with this course, we expect you to be equipped with the knowledge you gained at your first year introductory course, Introduction to Information Technology, and the second year course, Computer Applications for Managers, as well as the most recent subject, the most recent course that we just finished, Management Information Systems, right? So that knowledge will be very helpful for you to carry forward throughout this lecture as well. Then the course description is given here. I will not relate the entire description here as it is, but the key aim of this subject is actually to deliver knowledge to you on two key concepts, contemporary concepts. One is digital business and the other one is e-commerce management. How they both fuse together and how these concepts have evolved when it comes to the present context is what we hope to discuss, right? So through this course module, we hope to discuss how digital business and how e-commerce applications can be used by businesses to enhance their competitiveness, right? How information technology and how innovative technologies can be used by an organization to improve their competitiveness, to gain advantages within their industries and to survive, to move forward, to all these things, right? And how these can be helpful for business organizations when they interact with different stakeholders of a business, right? So we hope to break down this course to several chapters, which I will be sharing with you in a while. So these are the intended learning outcomes of this course. So at the end of this course, you should be able to examine the relationship between digital business, e-commerce, and e-marketing. You have to be able to identify these concepts, distinguish between them, and to understand the relationship between them. And also, you have to be able to explore what are the new business models that are there within a digital economy, right? Because currently, there are a lot of new business models that are emerging with the aid of technology, with the aid of information technology, right? Digital technologies have enabled a lot of new models, whereas it has made a lot of traditional business models obsolete. So you have to have an idea about these things. And you have to be able to understand the application of electronic communications to elements of the value and supply chain, including procurement, logistics, marketing, and CRM. We will be discussing each of these concepts separately in separate chapters in the times to come, right? Then also, we intend to identify and review the key management decisions required by organizations moving to digital business and consider the process by which these decisions can be taken, right? So what are the key management decisions that should be taken when a business is going digital, when a business is changing its landscape to digital, right? And what are the processes through which, by which these decisions can be taken? So we intend to talk about these things as well. So seems like I'm having a network disturbance on my end. Please give me a while to sort it out, okay? Can you please Can you please confirm whether you all can still hear me? Because there has been a power cut apparently. If I'm not coming out loud and clear, can you please let me know so that I can switch my connection?
No, madam, you are clearly audible.
Right, okay, thank you very much. So I was just relating to you the intended learning outcomes of this course, right? So as I was discussing, this course will be delivered in several chapters. We intend to discuss this through 8 chapters, right? There will be an introduction to digital business and e-commerce. And secondly, we hope to introduce the fundamentals of e-commerce and the e-environment. And moving forward, we discuss about the digital business strategy, supply chain management, right? And we talk about e-procurement and digital marketing. Finally, to conclude with customer relationship management. So there are 8 chapters, and the last session we hope to dedicate to a revision session, right? So where we can discuss answers for past papers, right? And any clarifications that you need. Then the grading procedure is broken down in this way, right? So the assessment method will be broken down into continuous assessments and end semester examination, right? So the weightage for continuous assessments would be 40%. And for end semester examinations, it is 60%. So that is how the total 100 marks will be allocated to you, right? So I also want you to direct your attention to this part here. Now, the type of continuous assessments given and the number of marks allocated for the continuous assessments will be finalized later. Why? Because we know that we are still uncertain as to how the lecturing mode will shift, whether we will be able to meet with you physically in near future, or whether it will have to be fully online. We are still uncertain. We hope we will be able to meet, but we'll see how things go. And we will, based on the condition, based on how the situation changes, we will soon let you know how this continuous assessment will be given, right? We will let you know the mode as well as how marks will be allocated to that. So in case continuous assessments are not given due to any reason, due to any uncertainty, so the final mark will be solely considered as your through your end semester examination, right? So we will soon let you know how we decide to allocate this weightage, right? And how we decide to allocate marks in between continuous assessment and end semester examination, as well as what your continuous assessment will be if we are having it, right? Then, of course, these things you are already familiar with as students of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce. These course policies are being communicated to you in almost every course that you take, right? So we expect active participation from you. At the beginning of the lecture also, I told you that sometimes this lecture might be somewhat unfamiliar to you since you're joining with lectures after quite some time. And however, although it's in a virtual mode, we expect you to interact with us, and please feel free to raise your questions and clear out any doubts you have. You may raise any concerns you have, right? So all material that are necessary for you to refer will be made available via the LMS of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, which you are already familiar with. So academic integrity, it's very important. Sometimes students tend to overlook this, but as undergraduates, it's very important that you hold on to your integrity, right? So you have to be ethical and honest in all your academic activities. As you're already aware, if there are cases of deliberate copying, cheating, plagiarizing. They will not be tolerated as per our policies. They will be penalized based on the university's rules and regulations, right? So whether it's a continuous assessment, whether it's an in-semester examination, we expect your academic integrity. And classroom discipline is now your third year students. So I don't think I have to stress on this a lot. You all are mature students. So you already know the type of discipline expected from an undergraduate within the classroom. Now, discipline does not mean that you keep quiet when I ask questions, right? It's just that please make sure, although you are, even though you are joining via a virtual mode, please make sure that you're not distracting the fellow classmates, and that you are always, interacting in a constructive manner to continue the lecture, right? So please make sure that if you're not required to speak, keep your mics on mute, and please be mindful of that, so that others in the class do not get disturbed, right? So we also have provisions for students with any special needs, right? So if there are any concerns that you would want to make to us, if you're a student with special needs, even via a virtual platform, if there are any special provisions needed by you, please feel free to contact the necessary student counselors, or you can reach out to us, Dr. Dushyanta, Ms. Piruni, or myself, in case of any such concerns you have, right? So that is to actually brief you about the course outline. I hope you all have also downloaded this, right? So you all can refer to it. And any questions so far that you want to raise? Any clarifications? Someone says the screen is not clear. Was that the case all throughout the presentation that I made? Was my screen not clear? Or was it sorted at the end? Right, so let me share the screen on the content that we hope to discuss today, right? Our chapter number 1. And once I share, please let me know if this is not clear to you. Is there any issue pertaining to the slides? Anything which is not clear, please let me know, right? I think now the issue is sorted, no? Right, okay, great. Right. So give me a few moments. Okay. So we are going to talk about introduction to digital business and e-commerce today, our first chapter. So through this, we hope to introduce important concepts pertaining to digital business and e-commerce with you. So let's see what our learning outcomes are. So through this chapter, we hope to summarize the reasons for adoption of digital business and barriers that may restrict adoption. Why do businesses adopt digital technologies? Why do they shift to digital business concepts, right? What is the reason behind that? And also, are there any barriers that hinder that adoption when businesses want to go digital? when they want to shift from a traditional business setting to online mode, to virtual mode, to a digital platform, what are the hindrances that they face, right? We hope to talk about that. Right, I'm sorry, the second bullet point came first, no? So we hope to first define the meaning and scope of digital business and e-commerce as well, right? What is the concept of digital business that we talk about through this subject? And what is this concept of e-commerce? And what are the elements which consist within these two concepts, right? And then we move on to summarizing the reasons why businesses move on to adoption of digital business and the barriers that they face in doing so, right? අපි digital business කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා ඉගෙන ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම e-commerce විද්‍යුත් වාණිජ්‍ය කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා අපි නිර්වචනය කරනවා. ඒ වගේ සංඝටක මොනවාද? ඒ වගේම business එකක් ඇයි digital මාධ්‍යයට යොමු වෙන්නේ සහ එහෙම කරද්දී ඒගොල්ලන්ට තියෙන barriers මොනවාද? ඒගොල්ලන්ට තියෙන අවහිරතා මොනවාද කියලා අපි discuss කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. Right? So introduction. First, let's see how this concept came into being, right? How this evolved. Organizations have now been applying technologies based on the internet, World Wide Web, and wireless communications to transform their businesses for over 20 years since the creation of the first website by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. So y'all may have already heard of this as well, right? So the first website went live on 1991, created by Sir Tim Berners-Lee. And after that, right, since then, different technologies have been used by organizations based on the internet technology, right? Based on the World Wide Web and based on wireless communications in order to change the business context, transform their businesses, right? Maybe from a traditional to digital context to improve their businesses, right? In MIS also, we talked about this extensively. I hope you already carry that knowledge. Still, we talked why businesses invest in information technology, isn't it? We talked about 6 different objectives why businesses try to invest in technologies and how they bring out competitive advantages for businesses. All these things we discussed, right? So therefore, this concept of internet, the concept of World Wide Web and wireless communications, these are not unfamiliar to you. We have already extensively discussed about these things. So I don't think I have to go into an in-depth discussion about what these technologies are, right? So you already know how these technologies help to connect not only a single geographical landscape, the entire world, the entire globe is being interconnected with these technologies, and we are no longer isolated, right? So doing business have become convenient due to this connectivity, as we have also experienced lately, isn't it? With the outbreak of COVID, this concept of digital and information technologies have been very popular, especially among the business community, right? So for over 20 years, since the creation of the first website, these different technologies have been used by businesses to, transform their business landscapes, right? So this first website, have you visited this first website by Sir Tim Berners-Lee? Any idea how it looked like? Have do you have the familiarity on how it looks like? Yes or no? So let me share with you this link which we have mentioned here. You also can, if you're accessing via a laptop even, you all can see how it looks like. So someone has dropped in a message, right? It seems you're not familiar with the first website, right? Let me share that with you. So this is how it looked like. I hope you all can see my screen. So from here, you can browse the first ever website developed, right? So this is how it looked like. So as you all can see, very different from what you are used to in the present, isn't it? So the interface, the design, right? Everything is very different from what you are quite used to, isn't it? So since the inception of this very first website, today the world has evolved a lot, isn't it? So since this was first introduced in 1991, right? When it comes to today, think how many things have changed, think how connectivity has changed, think how the user interfaces have changed, think how the convenience has greatly been increased for the web users to search for things online, to get connected with different parties, right, in order to conduct business. So it has evolved a long way, isn't it? So deploying these disruptive digital technologies has offered many opportunities for innovative businesses to transform their services. So we talked about disruptive digital technologies. Where did we talk about disruptive technologies? Do you remember we talked about disruptive technologies? Yes or no? මතකද කට්ටියට අපි disruptive technologies ගැන කතා කරා? Any idea what disruptive technology is? What is a disruptive technology? Yes, the word disruptive means breakthrough or groundbreaking, right? So there are technologies which have brought in sweeping changes, groundbreaking changes to industry, which have completely changed the business landscape, which have completely changed the context of businesses, right? So we talked about these technologies in detail in our MIS course as well. I hope you remember those, right? So these disruptive technologies and usage of these disruptive technologies, deploying these disruptive technologies has created different opportunities for businesses who are willing to innovate, right? For innovative businesses to transform their services that they are already offering, right? So we will look at table 1.1, which highlights some of these examples. Now, please take note that this lists those kinds of technologies that has got evolved from a very long way back, right? Starting from 1994 here, it has been presented up to 2014. But when it comes to today, when it comes to the modern context, there are a lot of other innovations or disruptive technologies that you can talk about, which has shifted or changed the usual business landscape, right? So in 1994, if we start with Amazon, right, which started as a category, which category? Business model was a retailer, right? So before this was introduced, before this came into being, physical stores were popular, right? So visiting a store physically and buying books was the notion, or going to a library, things like that. But with the inception of Amazon, this business model completely changed, right? So the concept of e-tailing emerged, right? So selling books via online, was not something that people had heard of before 1994, before the emergence of this concept of Amazon. But when it comes to today, Amazon has diversified into a lot of other businesses, right? But this is where they started. However, the emergence of this business model created many different groundbreaking changes in the usual way how the retailing industry operated, right? So that people had the convenience of consuming goods and services without having to physically visit a store, right? Then yahoo.com, a very popular directory and a portal, right? So what is a portal? In MIS also we have discussed about it. It's a entry point, isn't it? Entry point to a multitude of knowledge, multitude of different types of knowledge. For example, when you log into Yahoo, you know that you can get directed to different types, different sources of information. It can be news, entertainment, sports, right? Anything, right? So like that, there are a very diverse range of resources through which you can gain information from. Then eBay is something very popular in the current context, although it started way back in 1995, still it's a very popular online auction site. So I'm not going to go into detail about these things because these are things that you already know and you're already familiar with, right? So then Alta Vista, although no longer in operation, right, was quite popular back then. Right now we have many popular other search engines, but the introduction of these technologies changed the way how the industry usually worked, and that is what you have to understand, right? Now some of these technologies, when it comes to today, some of these companies actually have changed. Some of these companies are no longer in existence. Some of these companies have been acquired by other ones, but this is where the change began, right? In the first instance, that is what we have to understand. Then hotmail.com, once again, this was the first introduction of web-based email and also viral marketing. And this was exceedingly used to, email signatures, used for promoting different services. And this was purchased by Microsoft, and currently now it has Outlook, right? Then I'm not going to go into detail about all these examples, but let's pick a few. So google.com, you already know and you're familiar with. Then there are other such sites as this blogger.com, where blog publishing was introduced, right? Then alibaba.com, a popular B2B marketplace, and MySpace, a popular social network. But when it comes to today, the concept of social networking has greatly changed. You all know that there are a lot of options for you to stay connected with your peers over social networks. Then Wikipedia, very popular, a very popular open encyclopedia. Then Last.fm was a introduction of internet radio, right? And internet-based music community. And Skype.com, once again, you're very familiar with this concept as well, where internet telephony can be executed, isn't it? Skype is still very popular among business communities as well, right? Then virtual worlds such as Second Life, where you all can create your own avatar and you all can do things in a virtual world using this avatar. So this concept of having avatars in a virtual world has greatly evolved when it comes to the present context, isn't it? So there are people who are actually too immersed in virtual worlds that sometimes it's difficult for them to, come back to the real world, right? The social context has changed up to that level. There are people who are living in these virtual worlds with their avatars so much that they have even Sometimes there are even situations where they can't say apart from the real world and the virtual world, right? So there are a different set of social issues in that arena, but see how far that concept has evolved. Now, this concept is very popular among gaming communities, right? These having virtual worlds, and even for business purposes also, it is being greatly used. Then Facebook.com, very popular among you all. I don't need to give you an introduction about this. YouTube.com, once again, very popular among your community. Then there are many other such examples given here. And also Google Glass. Now, this is also a very important breakthrough change that happened in terms of wearable technologies. So you all are very familiar about wearable technologies, right? When it comes to the present context, wearable technologies. පැලඳිය හැකි උපාංග, right? පැලඳිය හැකි උපාංග කියන concept එක ගොඩාක් වර්තමානයේ වෙද්දී වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙනවා නේ. You now Google Glass is just one example. But when it comes to today, there are devices that can track your health, right? When you're doing sports, even the clothing that you wear can have embedded technologies, can be in the form of wearable technologies. The shoes you wear, right? The watch you wear, the wristbands, right? So the concept of wearable technology has evolved up to a huge level, right? So I will show you a short video on Google Glass here, but please take note that this concept of Google Glass, it did not embrace the consumer market as much as they expected, right? Now there's an enterprise edition of Google Glass being operationalized. However, it was not that successful among the consumer community due to various reasons, such as, you know, battery life and the price, and sometimes security concerns have also been there, right? Because you're wearing a glass with the camera and everything embedded in. So sometimes certain institutions prohibited people from entering people who are wearing such kinds of glasses. So due to these kinds of different issues, this did not become popular in the consumer market as expected. However, an enterprise edition is being developed. I'll anyway share with you a short video clip on how the Google Glass works. So please let me know if there's a disturbance in the video, right?
Here are the basics of how to use glass. This is your touchpad. It runs from your temple to your ear. Tap the touchpad to wake up glass. You should see the display above your line of sight. Adjust it to see everything. The home screen shows a clock. This is your timeline. It's a row of cards. Things to the left are happening now or coming up, like the weather, an upcoming flight, or an event in your calendar. You can tap on any card to see more. Swipe down anywhere to go back to the timeline. Cards to the right of the home screen are from the past, for example, messages, videos, or photos. Tap on a photo to share it and choose one of your friends. Swipe down to go back to standby. And have fun exploring.
Right, so you saw how the Google Glass works, right? How convenient it is to stay connected and to and how it acts as a smart device. I will also share with you how this works in the enterprise environment, in the business environment, right?
To the golden sunset, and all through the night, farmers work their magic. And AGCO is piloting ways to simplify and advance their yields through wearable technologies. We are supporting forward-thinking farmers like never before by using Google Glass to send and store photos immediately to AGCO Tech Support, who can diagnose your problem and advise your field service rep of solutions.
Hey Alec, how's it going?
Not too bad.
Got a problem out here?
Something's going on with the pump. It can't hold pressure.
Okay, here, let me call tech support. Hey Pete, we're out in the field here with Alex and his pump's giving him problems on the Rogator. All right, here, I'll get you a picture. All right, I'll take a picture for you, Pete. Okay, it's coming your way.
We are improving quality by following step-by-step work instructions in weld, paint, and assembly, while glass-prompted advanced final product inspections drive value to our distributions and consumers. Google Glass allows us to collaborate and share with cross-functional teams in real time with hands-free documenting capabilities.
Proceed. No. Take picture.
Immediate information allows trending of problems with rapid turnkey solutions. Tours are more engaging by sharing beacon-activated pictures and videos, while AGCO guests are guided throughout the plant. As the world of agriculture changes, so do we.
And when every second counts, advanced technologies like Google Glass help us deliver that.
Welcome to the wonderful world of AGCO, leading the way with Google Glass.
Right, so there you saw how this concept of Google Glass is being used in the business context, right? How it enables communication, collaboration among different parties in a business, right? How convenient it is when applied within different business contexts. But as I told you earlier, there are certain drawbacks in this concept of Google Glass, but it's still a project which is being ongoing and which is still progressing, I would say, right?